Hello, welcome to Friday I'm in Bed.
Podcast for midlife women living their best life, but in bed by 10.
Hi, so this week on Friday I'm in Bed, we're going to dive into one big topic, misogyny on Love is Blind and what it tells us about incel culture. We're talking about the gap between what men think women want, six packs, big bank accounts, perfect Instagram bodies, and what women actually want, which is emotional maturity, generally, kindness, humour. Why are men so convinced that their type is everyone's type? And how does dating culture keep reinforcing these outdated, often toxic ideas? So grab a cuppa and let's dive in.
Jem, how are you this week?
Hi, Kate. Well, I'm the same as I was the week before because we are pre-recording this, obviously, because what you're currently looking at is past me because present me is in Morocco.
Lovely.
I know. I am hoping that present me is having a wonderful time in Morocco.
You are.
Hasn't been bitten by any rabid dogs.
Nope.
Or like anything like that. But
I've been out anyway, so it doesn't matter if you are.
No. So I've got on a group trip, and by this point I will have hopefully been sand surfing, I think it's called, sandboarding. Yes. And ridden a camel and glamped in the desert. So I've done all kinds of wonderful things that you will hear about next week. But at the moment, I am sitting here in chilly old England, wrapped in my scarf because it's a bit nippy today.
Have you been to Morocco before?
I have not. In fact, the only place I've been outside of Europe is a trip to Vegas once. I haven't really been outside of Europe before, so I'm quite excited about it being a bit of a cultural difference, if you see what I mean.
Love Morocco. I've been to Marrakesh quite a few times, and my husband has just come back from Essaouira. I can't pronounce it.
I've seen it written down,
which is on the coast, and that he's absolutely sold. But apparently we're going back there next month because it's like Marrakesh on the beach with surfing, so it's like cool, and there's like hippies DJing on the beach, but there's also tagines to eat and souks to shop in, so it's like really eclectic. It's amazing. You'll have a lovely time, I'm sure. Just know how to barter.
I'm not very good at that. Do you start with like 50% off, would you say? Is there like a guide thing?
Well, allegedly they put 50% on what they want, but one thing is, it's just I'll give you one little handy hint before we dive in. When you're at one of their stalls, if you touch anything, they have decided that you are interested. Okay. And then they're coming at you. So the trick is to look at everything without going, oh, look at this, which is really hard to do.
Yeah.
You have to, because if you act really excited, which I generally do when I see nice, pretty things, that doesn't go so well.
No, then you have to look like you don't really want this thing. And
yes.
Yeah, okay. Oh, I forgot. Actually, my mum tells me I have been to Morocco. I just wasn't born yet.
Oh.
Because apparently my mum found out she was pregnant just after she got back from Morocco. And she was like, that explains why I was being sick all the time. I thought it was all the red wine.
Yes. Whereas I tell the story about how I went to all these gigs and festivals with Herbie in my tummy, and that's why his music taste is impeccable, because he saw all these amazing bands in utero. But anyway, we digress. We have a topic to talk about.
Less of Morocco. I'll tell you about that next week.
Yes, good. So should we get into it?
Yes, let's get into it. So you have to tell me about this one.
So we're going to talk about Love is Blind, but it's not really about Love is Blind. But this is what sort of triggered my thoughts. So Love is Blind, let's just start with explaining what that is to anybody that doesn't know what Love is Blind is. It's a dating show, but the difference is you don't see the person. So you spend, I think it's up to about 60 hours in these pods chatting to people. And the idea is you create a real emotional connection. You talk about all your life, your values, your fears. You talk about the future. You really go deep with the idea that can love be blind? Because actually dating shows generally, and particularly dating apps, is all about the aesthetic, and you make a decision if you want to see somebody based on a photograph, if you're using Tinder, for example, or if you're on Love Island, it's about what you look like. It's very, appearance led. But actually, what we should be doing is connecting on a deeper level. So the premise is actually quite cool because you're getting to know people deep down rather than at surface level, i.e. the visual. Obviously, the issue potentially is that when you see them. But a lot of the time, the attraction is there on day one because you've really connected. You really, really want them. It doesn't necessarily work out. It invariably doesn't work out, but it often doesn't work out because your personalities actually clash or
Yeah.
something, or there's too much distance Anyway, the current series is American that's on Netflix right now. And there is this couple, Chris and Jessica. They connected. They met after the connection. They've been getting on really well. They have been intimate, as they always say on these programs, which basically means they've shagged.
They're shagging.
They've been on honeymoon. They go on it's not a honeymoon. They go on a trip to Mexico and they get deeper in their relationship physically and mentally. Then they move into a house. It's kind of similar to other shows.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're getting on really, really well. She is a doctor. She is incredibly successful. She is beautiful. I mean, to be fair, I have to also say they're all quite good looking. You don't suddenly arrive and they are all good looking.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's amazing. Everything's going swimmingly. He goes to her house and she has got a massive house, massive and beautiful with personality. If you watched it, you'd be like, I want to live in that house. And somewhere along the line, his feelings change and he decides that he's not sexually attracted to her at all. And he tells her, basically says, I'm not sexually attracted to you, even though we've had sex. I wasn't feeling it. And the reason is you don't do CrossFit. And she's like, I told you in the pods, I'm not fit. I'm working in hospital all the time. She was on the front line in COVID. She talks about that and how hard it was. Like, I don't really have time. But also, she is a UK size 10, I'd say, looking. No, she is tiny. You don't do CrossFit every day. And I want a woman that does Pilates every day. I want a Pilates woman. And of course, we all go, oh, and she is a queen. She just goes, well, I don't do Pilates every day. I'm not going to be doing Pilates every day. I'm at work. And if you don't like my body, then she doesn't say it, but she basically says, that's a you problem. And she dumps him. And we're all like, yo, 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 yo. Anyway, this has been going viral all over, Instagram and stuff. Because it's like, what course, basically. However,
I saw some clips of the conversation.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like my whole knowledge of it. I'm not the reality TV queen like you are.
But what's been really interesting since is the discovery that this is not about Pilates. Okay, so this is not about doing Pilates every day because let's face it, you could be really muscly, masculine presenting woman, short hair, covered in tattoos, and do Pilates every day. This is not about Pilates. This is not, and I've been doing some digging, and what's been really interesting is this is all part of incel language. So that's what we're going to talk about more than Love is Blind, if you know what I mean. So the Pilates princess is irrelevant if she does Pilates or not. She is the woman that I see all over TikTok and probably Insta, to be fair. She's young, she's blonde, she's white, she's thin, she's slim, but she wears neutrals, she drinks matcha. She is not dissing her because she's great, but she is a type. And importantly, the type is white, young, blonde, but also not opinionated. She's not political. She's not a feminist. She's quite traditional, quite conservative, quite safe. And that is what they want. That is the key thing.
See, this is really funny because I started going to Reformer Pilates as part of so I was trying to perk up February. I was doing this February fun homework and I went to a Reformer Pilates class. Okay. And the whole studio is like, it's very nice, clean, fresh space, but it's beige. Everything's beige. And I've now been to like 3 sessions. So obviously I am, I'm terrible at it. I fall over a lot and things, but I'm like, so yesterday I was walking around there and I was like, I did a little video while I was on my way around there just going, I'm just so you all know, I'm a Pilates princess now. I'm going to start buying cream coords and massive beige Stanley cups in which I'm going to drink my matcha lattes. So it is, and obviously I was joking because even if I bought a cream coord and all that, I would not be a Pilates girly because I am that human being. But because what I was kind of getting at was, yeah, no, I'm too loud and annoying and opinionated
And
to.
that's the key thing here. And what I've since discovered, it's obviously linked with incel red pill culture about how they want their women. And let's face it, they want their women to be traditional. And I've even discovered words that they use or men use in their Tinder profiles and what they actually mean. So, for
Oh,
example, looks after herself basically means you need to be a Pilates princess, but also no drama. They talk a lot about no drama. They don't need any
don't
drama in
argue
your
with
life.
me.
That means, yeah, well, no politics, no opinion, no answering back, basically.
Yeah.
So, um,
So we
so
know
this is,
who to avoid.
well, yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, so many men are writing this, and that's what they want.
Mm.
But then that leads me on to, because when you read the comments, it's all like, well, men were allowed to have the type. And that's what I'd like to really talk about is this type thing, because there's a type and then there's, I don't know. Let's start with, do you have a type?
So yes. So bearing in mind I'm rolling my mind back. I've been married for a long time. Like,
Yeah.
I always went for kind of like the kind of skinny intellectual musos, like, dark hair and glasses. If they were carrying a book or a guitar, I was like, oh, hi. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. I guess I like kind of, but if you ask me my type, I will a lot of time talk about more, I don't necessarily talk about physical attributes, I guess, because I will talk about, how I like that kind of intellectualism. I like, people who think about stuff and that kind of thing more than I will then say, I might go for people like purely on looks, like, dark hair and glasses was always like a little thing that I had, like that kind of, that there might be a look that if that was all you had to go on, but generally, always much more interested in what people are actually like as human beings, because
I know.
who'd have thought, there will be people that you do not find physically attractive.
Of course.
That is always going to happen. But I also think that if you, that's an interesting premise for the Love of Blind thing, isn't it? Where you've started with discovering those things before you see each other physically, because it's interesting to think about what that might suggest if somebody was really, not your type, completely out of, like, even down to the fact that if you considered yourself heterosexual and it turned out to be a woman on the other side, like that
Yeah.
kind of that.
Yeah, they don't
Anyway,
go, to be fair, they don't go.
no, 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 no. But that's just that's my brain leaping
Yeah, yeah.
around
No,
like
that's
fire topics. But yeah, so I think, my type was, I was never like, big muscles and, gym bros and all that kind of stuff. That's more likely to be like a massive turn off for me, to be honest. Like that kind of thing. I was always more into the, if they read books, I was like, oh, hi, let's talk about books.
that was me with music. I think, and this is kind of the point, is that it's this type thing. I don't want to keep going about the incel culture, but it is very much about type. I like this type. That is it, the end. And also, they really feel and are bogged down by the fact that women want three things: a six pack, them to be tall, and for them to earn money,
Hmm.
decent money. But actually, when you speak to most women, that is not on the list. Well, it might be on the list, but it's way
It's
down.
way down.
Emotional maturity, openness, humor, kindness, the ability to share and be a team player.
Yeah.
And then potentially next layer down into books, into music,
Mm.
into, we both play football, or, or whatever, that interest,
Yeah, yeah.
and then appearance. And then, of course, you can have a type, like I quite like guys with long hair, historically, for example, but but you can grow hair, funnily enough.
And
Or
yeah.
you might say, I really like men with beards, but you can grow a beard and
Yeah,
actually
and these
not
things
that important.
change as well, like 20 years you might want to shave your beard off. Like, you've got to have that kind of basis there. But
And
it's interesting that talking about that kind of incel culture, because that is something that, you hear young men saying a lot, is that, well, women want men that are mean to them. No, they're not interested in me because I'm
five
not
foot
this,
five.
this, and this. And you kind of go, well, A, not all, I hate to say it, but not all women. Like, sure there will be some women out there
Yeah,
that
of
are
course,
maybe
of course.
are thinking like that, the same as there are some men out there that are thinking that about women. But what women are you interested in? If again, if you're specifically saying, oh well, if I'm going to get a Pilates princess, I'm going to have to be this, then you might go, yeah, fair enough. Like if you're trying to attract that specific kind of shallowness, then maybe you might need to lean into a specific shallow look yourself.
Well, I think that I always think back to the six pack thing. I was sick because before this, I was thinking, do I find a six pack attractive? And it's like, well, yeah. But I also had this feeling that if I got with a man that had a six pack and was really muscular, knowing how my brain works, I would probably feel inadequate because I ain't ever getting a six pack. And I got a wobbly tummy and I don't want to feel inadequate. Now, you shouldn't. Obviously, if you love somebody and they love you, you shouldn't, that nobody should make you feel inadequate. But I find it like, ooh, but if I had a six pack, I might want somebody with a six pack. I don't know.
But that might suggest that you had similar interests. Because you
Exactly.
don't get a six pack without spending a lot of time in the gym. So
Exactly.
you might find someone who also likes to spend time in the gym, and isn't that lovely?
No, not my person, but exactly. But I think there is this thing of, as you said, nobody wants me because they all want six pack. God. But I haven't got a six pack. Like, it's almost like, so why don't you go to the gym and then maybe you might meet somebody,
Yeah,
or not worrying
if
about.
that's what you're interested in, and kind of see a lot about it's like treating women as a different species. I think almost like
Like, I want a fluffy dog or a
yeah.
small dog, a fluffy small dog I can put in my handbag. I mean, I don't put Dolly in my handbag, but she's a small fluffy dog. But I didn't want
Hmm.
a big dog. I wanted a small fluffy one. But it's a bit like that, isn't it? Which is ownership. I know you think of them as your baby, they're your baby.
Yeah,
They are
yeah,
my
yeah.
babies. But ultimately, sorry.
Yeah, ultimately, you end up going and picking a dog that fits in with your lifestyle.
Yeah, and it's really like that, isn't it? I want a Pilates princess, even though I don't
Yes,
do
because
Pilates or yoga.
this is a status symbol that I get to purchase and pick off of the shelf rather than a partnership or a relationship that I want to build and have in my life. I just want this imaginary thing rather than what I'm looking for is a life partner, perhaps.
Exactly.
Is the kind of vibe I think that comes off of it. Yeah, very very much so that yeah, women are a status symbol and a product. They wouldn't say that about their friends. They wouldn't kind of meet a bloke in the pub, for instance, and be like, I'm not sure we can be friends because what I really want in a friend is a guy that does Pilates every day.
And also, I meet a guy I'm a guy and I meet another guy and we get on really well. Actually, we've got loads of interests in common and stuff, but actually I'm afraid you're only 5'9" and I'm only friends with 6 foot men.
Oh yeah, that's a shame, isn't it? If only it could have
And
been so beautiful.
the irony, not wanting to body shame anybody, but the irony, of course, is that Chris on Love is Blind, I think is about 5'4" or something, 5'5". Like, he's so. Unfortunately, there's also been quite a lot of backlash around him,
Mm.
like aimed at him, going like, again, so you want, back to you said about the status symbol, but you're not a status symbol. You're not, you know,
Yeah.
in your dream. And also, it turns out he's £63,000 in debt on his credit card. I think he got sued or he got taken to court or something around the debt before Love is Blind. And of course, he's met this woman who he gets on really well with. He's all over, they're being intimate. They're happy, happy, happy. He sees her house and he doesn't. This hasn't been said. He doesn't say it, but he changes at that point because, of course,
Uh,
he is actually financially different. And is that a
oh,
problem? Do
okay.
you think? I mean, it's a
So
problem for
maybe
him.
there's something deeper there for him, a sense of kind of inadequate
I think so.
sense.
But is that a problem? Do you think when you're dating types, so this whole premise that women only want men that are rich or have got a really good job. But I mean, to be fair, if a woman wants that and she's got a really good job, I mean, it's fine, isn't it? Like, you can have two successful people together. Do you think you need to be financially aligned for it to work? Well, I don't know where that one came from. That isn't in my notebook. I've just come up with it.
Well, I mean, that's it. Because I mean, finances are a big cause of arguments in relationships. So I would say that I don't think it's necessarily like the be all and end all, but I think maybe you need to have a similar attitude to money, even if you don't have
Mm.
like the same amount of money, because that's where you end up with problems, isn't it? If like in a situation like this, you don't want to then get into something with someone who's always building up debt and you're the only person that's making any money in the relationship, because by the time you get to the point where you're starting to like merge your finances, that's gonna start causing problems. If one person is always the spender and one is always the earner, then there's going to be like an imbalance that
So it's
could
not
cause resentment.
so it's not about how much money you're
Yeah.
bringing in. I've been married before, and my first husband spent all the money on cigarettes and McDonald's, and I earned all the money, and it was a problem.
Mm.
Whether you like it or not, it was like you're sitting around doing nothing. It
Hmm.
did work, but you're just spending it all. And interestingly, my current husband, I always say that sounds awful. My
Oh no, I
husband
love it. Keep doing it, please.
sounds like there's going to be another one on the way. A Pilates man. He does not believe in borrowing money. We do have a mortgage, but absolutely no debt, no credit card, never has. If you can't afford it, you don't buy it, or you save for it, or to be fair, you buy it secondhand or whatever, or you make it. He really is no debt allowed. And when I met him, I think I had maybe about 12 grand or 14 grand on my credit card because I was going out shopping. I had an amazing shoe collection. So we were very, very different. And when I got pregnant, we decided to sell my house and move it, to live together. And he actually said that from the money that I'd made on my house, I had to pay off my credit card. And that sounds awful, doesn't it? He told me I had to,
Hmm.
but he was so right. And I have never
Yeah.
borrowed any money since. But actually,
Really?
no, I'm with him. Well, I'm not. That's because I'm not allowed. That sounds awful, doesn't it? Like he controls everything. He
Yeah,
doesn't.
yeah.
But in our house, our mentality, and with the kids as well, is if you don't, you can't buy it if you don't have it. If you don't have the money to buy it, you can't.
I wish that was our house mentality.
Yeah, ours is. I mean, if it was up to me, I'd probably be still spending money on shoes. To be fair, so in a way, we were different, but we are now aligned and all right.
Mm.
But then we had so much other things in common. So I suppose, is it a deal breaker? Potentially, but we were aligned in everything else. It's just I like buying clothes and he
But
doesn't.
then I think this is the importance, and I think that this is the thing that kind of incel culture that sets someone as a status symbol, like a package of parts, forgets is that a relationship is a partnership, and it ends, and it's always going to be a discussion.
Yeah.
You will not ever be aligned on everything, but the point is that that I'm sure that there's things that he's changed from being with you.
Yes, he's way more political and
So you end up kind of weighing up these things, and if spending loads of money on your credit card and having shoes had been a deal breaker issue for you, and he was like, no, you have to pay that off, then it wouldn't have worked.
yeah, exactly.
However, spending loads of money on shoes, you were a bit like, well, I do like doing it, but not as much as I like being with you, and therefore we can,
And also, yeah, the debt needed to be paid off because it was getting bigger and bigger.
we can balance that with the fact that I'm buying this sofa even though you hate pink or whatever. Like, I don't know.
On that, I found the most amazing pink sink and toilet, and I was hoping he'd buy it for me for Valentine's Day. And then he came back. It's on
You
Facebook
buy a
Marketplace.
toilet for
I
Valentine's
need to
Day.
say nothing. I'm not going to say where it is in case somebody goes and buys it. Oh no, this isn't going out till next week. And he came back from Morocco and said, "Did you buy that?" And I was like, "Well, I'm not being funny. I was kind of hoping you'd buy it for me for Valentine's Day." And I think that made him go, "Maybe I should have bought it for Valentine's Day." But anyway, talking about pink. Anyway,
Okay.
the other thing in this is that bodies change. We change. So if I wanted a man with a six pack, with a big bank account, a big car, and be well, you generally don't grow or get smaller a bit,
Yeah.
maybe.
Unless your spine disappears. Just
Yes.
saying.
But that would have been all right for that period of time,
Mhm.
wouldn't it? Because 20 years on, sorry, husband, he doesn't listen to the podcast. He did have a six pack. He doesn't have one now. Do I love him any less? No, because the six pack was, like, what? It was attractive, but that isn't why I fell in love with him. Do you know
And
what I
it's
mean?
also not why you stayed in a
Yeah,
relationship.
yeah. And it was more because I wouldn't just fall in love with just a six pack. because like unless you saw that six pack 24/7, like literally you're not even going to see it anyway. So
Yeah.
the point is we change. And as women, I mean, men's bodies change too. Women's bodies really change, especially with hormone changes, menopause. And for many of us, we have babies as well. So I was a Pilates princess. I mean, I was always a bit goth. I mean, to be fair, I wasn't.
I think just
Well,
going to Pilates, you have to be, that doesn't make you a Pilates princess. Pilates
exactly.
princess
But
comes
I
with all the
did
bag.
do, I was yoga, to be fair, not Pilates. I was doing yoga about 4 times a week and I was a bit of a yoga bunny. But my body has changed and that's okay. That's normal. So these guys that want the Pilates princess, what are they going to do? So they also want babies, don't they? This is the game. They all want babies, but they don't want our bodies to change.
Oh, but you see that. I've seen podcast clips all the time of them going, oh, well, if she doesn't immediately snap back after she's had a baby, you know, I'm going to put my foot down. Like, she should be back in the gym. And you,
Have
oh,
you seen there's like a tweet or whatever about Rihanna that's going round, and there's a picture of Rihanna
yeah.
like when she first starts. So she was a teenager or she's in her early
Mhm.
20s, and she obviously looks really young because she is really young. And then next to it is a picture of her recently. I mean, she's still, I don't know, she's in her 30s. She, you know,
Yeah.
which is
But it
still
was a
really
picture
young.
where she had no makeup on and stuff as
She had
well.
no makeup on, but she's also had 3 kids. And she also, it was, you know, like a professional or whatever, you know, like a publicity shot versus her with her kids. And it was basically something, it says something about like, you know, this is the problem with women type of thing. Look at her now.
I think what it said is this is why men want younger women. Look what happened to Rihanna.
Look what happened to Rihanna. But they also want to carry on their gene pool and us to have babies and are talking about potentially taxing us for not having babies. But your body, so it's like, which one do you want?
But I mean, it's a trope, though, isn't it, of, you know, men trading in their wives for a younger model because essentially they get the trophy wife and then the trophy wife has babies and turns into, you know, a wife and mother. And then the men are off making money and doing their successful men things and they get to trade them in for a younger model. So that's, you know, a massive kind of cheesy stereotype, isn't it? But kind of, if you have that attitude that you're not looking for a partnership. You're not looking for a life partner. You're looking for a status symbol. Then that's the kind of ultimate outcome of it, isn't it? Is that I have all these things and therefore I can trade you in for a younger model at any time. I think the thing is that that's always been there, hasn't it? You know, I'm successful, I'm rich, I go to the gym and, you know, I'm going to
Yeah.
trade you in. I'm going to, you know, men sleeping with their younger secretaries at work. And that's always been there as like a massive cliche. I feel like one of the things I'm seeing now, which feels different about that incel culture, is the entitlement from men who maybe aren't living up to that stereotype, aren't part of that cliche. So they don't have, you know, the big car and the fancy job and the money and a six pack. So they don't have all of that. And they are framing it like it's women's fault that they don't get to live the stereotype of getting a trophy wife and then trading her in for a trophy girlfriend. Like that was ever a good thing for starters, but also like it was something to aspire to. And now they're not allowed to do that, even though they're not even living up to their side of this bargain. Does that make sense? I know that sounds like I'm like justifying it in some way, but that's not the intention. It's that kind of idea that it's an entitlement to have a trophy
Well, that's
wife.
obviously because there are guys on the internet making podcasts telling them that that's the way. You know, you deserve a 10 and a 10 equals X, Y, and Z, and you
Mhm.
deserve it, and you're not getting it, so it's her fault. But what's so upsetting about this is if these guys just spoke to some people outside of that bubble, they talk to their mum or their aunt or their sister or other guys who have realized that, you know, they've got their partner and they're, you know, they are discovering life isn't just about six packs or whatever and Pilates, they would realize that none of that matters. And this is what I find so frustrating. Six packs and flashy cars and 6 footness doesn't matter. And we know that. And a lot of men, thankfully, know that. But these guys who have been red pilled don't believe it.
But then they're saying, well, then if that's the case, why don't I have a girlfriend? Why don't I have a girlfriend if all of that stuff that I don't have doesn't matter. Why don't I have a girlfriend?
Because
And
they need to come out of that bubble and stop
yeah,
listening to that podcast and speak to some real people
yes.
and some women.
Because you need to stop focusing on the idea that, you know, the only girlfriends you want are the ones with this collection of trophy attributes, and actually speak to women as if they're human beings and friends before you can build that kind of relationship with it. That's why you don't have a girlfriend.
And I think for young
Yeah. Just sorry, that kind of like derailed me then. Yeah. Is that, you know, because that's the question they're asking, is that's what I'm saying, is that but I don't have any of those things and I don't have a girlfriend. So why? And you go, because you're looking for the wrong things and you're not treating women like human beings. And what they actually want is to be treated like human beings rather than your potential future trophy wife. So they want to find someone that they can just talk to without this being like I'm in some kind of competition to prove that I fit your criteria.
And I don't think it's just an age thing. So I think I do hear, you know, "Oh, well, you're 53 and you will think differently." When I speak to my daughter, she's 15, and, you know, if I'm to ask her, you know, "What are you looking for in a boy?" She would say, I want one that's not a dick." I mean, that's the bar, guys.
Mhm.
She doesn't say, "I want him to be taller than me. I want him to have a part-time job." Obviously, she's 15. "I want him to be clever at school. I want him not to be in trouble at school," or "I want him to be in trouble." You know, like, she's not I mean, yeah, she has a physical attraction
Yeah.
towards you and not you, because we have eyes. That's how things like that do work. She might go, "He's fit." She definitely goes, "He's fit," but that's more like she'll watch a video of somebody or a pop star or whatever, and she'll be like, "He's fit." But when it comes to who do you want to date, the bar is that I don't want a dick. And it's like, wow, you know, that
But I
and
mean, when I think back to being that age, I could remember sometimes, you know, there were guys that, you know, you would get chatting to people and you would be like, even if it wasn't an initial attraction, if you chatted to people, like over time, you might be like, there's something there. But there was also people where you were like, oh, you're cute. And then you were like, oh no,
you're really
God,
boring.
God, you're awful and a bit of a dick. So that does happen. But you also see boys, these like in that kind of incel culture, talking about like the friend zone thing as well. So that's one of the things there with that kind of claim that, you know, when women say they don't want a dick, well, I'm not a dick, so why aren't they dating me? And you kind of go, maybe that just didn't evolve in this particular instance. Maybe you were pushing it too hard. Maybe you were a dick and you didn't realize it because
Yeah.
you were thinking, or because all the time you were thinking of this as a potential relationship rather than building a relationship.
I have
Like,
I have read a lot of people complaining that she's friend zoned me. Um, and comments underneath going, "Well, congratulations, you've got a friend."
yeah,
And I
what's
think,
wrong with
"Oh,
that? Like, you know, turns out you can be friends with women.
I know, and that's a really good thing."
Yeah, I mean, I thought we'd understood that since, like, you know, Harry Met Sally and
Maybe that's what they need to do, is watch that. Anyway, so Love is Blind, still on if you wanna
yeah.
watch it. And there is so much you could talk about, for all the other guys as well. It seems to be I feel like each series is like it might be the girls, the women that are really toxic, or the men. There seems to be like it goes it's not just the men, but this year
Mhm.
it appears to be quite a few of the men. But Married at First Sight starts the week you get back from Morocco, and there will
Does
be
it?
so
Do you
much
think I
for me
should
to talk
watch
about.
that this time?
Well, you don't have to, because I can watch it for you, because I will be. But again, they love talking about type. She's not my type. That's not what I ordered. In fact, I think somebody actually said that once. But it's a bit like I ordered. It's like, no, the premise, of course, let's face it, the premise is it's just for
Oh,
entertainment and
yeah.
drama. But the premise is supposed to be, this is my type in all ways, and it's not worked. I need something different. I need to look at love through a different lens. So they go, okay, these are your values. This is what's important to you. These are your likes. As in, I like Pilates. Let's lock them in. You know, they do that. But then they turn up and go, she's not my type. That's not what I ordered. It's like, ugh. But anyway,
Okay. Well, I can't wait to hear about Married at First Sight after I'm back then.
well, have a great trip. Let's just end with me
I'm
saying,
so
have a great trip.
excited.
And I'm not jealous
What?
at all.
I'm very excited. I've got Moroccan nails and everything.
Don't come back with a lamp, a carpet, a statue of something, and because you won't be able to fit it into your case.
No, I've only got a little suitcase. I need
My
a hat.
husband took pictures, and there's this big like footstool, and I'm like, oh my God. And he was like, I know. And he's like, Time.
Okay, no furniture. I will do. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Thank you for joining us for another roundup of midlife chat, hot takes, and occasional moaning. Well, quite a bit of moaning.
Make sure you hit subscribe so your podcast app gently nudges you every Friday, because honestly, who remembers anything without a reminder this day? And also, we like people liking us because we're very needy.
And if you fancy being extra lovely, leave us a rating or a review. It helps more brilliant women like you find us. Have a great weekend, everyone, and make sure you find time for yourself. You deserve it.